What year did you come to Muncie?
1935.
Okay, and when you came to Muncie, what things did you bring with you?
Nothing. I just came looking for a job.
Um, who was here? Who was? Did someone meet you here?
No.
Okay.
No.
How did you travel?
I'm a train.
Did someone buy you a ticket to travel? Or?
No.
You came looking for a job. What type of job did you find?
The first job I got, I came to Muncie, was at the old Muncie Malama family.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that you were ever held back because of racial discrimination?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Could you cite one of those instances?
Well, during that time, they had certain jobs that they wouldn't let blacks do, such as molding. I down in mold, when I qualified to mold, they wouldn't let no black mold down there. That family.
What kinds of work did blacks do at that time?
Well, the most work at that time for black was such as foundry work, ball, glass factory, or the glass factory in Indiana, steel and wall. That was the biggest work here for blacks at that time.
Do you feel that you had to compete with whites on your job? For example, whites would receive more money than you would, and both you and a white person would be doing the same type of job? Did you ever?
No, I never run into that. No, I never experienced that.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever compete with foreigners on your job?
Very few.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember of what nationality the foreigners were that you did?
Well, I run into a few are Japanese.
Back in those days, did you get any on-the-job training that helped get you promoted at all?
No, not at that time.
Well, what did you do when you wanted to get more pay to be promoted?
Well, at that particular place, you just wasn't no promotion there when I left there. I left there in 1942 in World War II.
And you went into service?
No, I went to embroideries. I went to embroideries. That's right. Embroideries worked quite a few blacks too at that time. I worked there a few months. Then I went to Durham Manufacturing Company. They was making war material. But the best I could do there was janitor work.
What was the name of your school and where was it located that you got your formal education from?
Well, see, I didn't get the formal education. That is grade school because I got out in a school in Montgomery County, Tennessee as my last school, and just grade school.
Could you briefly describe what the school was like as far as the structure of it?
Well, it was just a frame building, just ordinary frame building, small frame building, not too large.
Was it one single room? Or?
One room, one single room.
Did you have a black teacher?
Yes, a black teacher.
How did you feel about education?
Well, I always did want education, but I just didn't have the opportunity to receive it. So.
And one of the reasons that you were unable to get an education, was it due to you having to go out and get a job?
Right.
What were some of the subjects you did study while you were in grade school?
Well, I took up mathematics, and English, some history, and we had geography back in those days. I don't know if you have it at school now. And that was my biggest subject I had when I was in school.
Did you ever read any textbooks by or about blacks?
You mean, well, I reached there. I have not been.
Not yet. Did whites ever discourage you from getting an education?
Oh, yeah. Well, they did everything they could to, to block you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, back in that time.
Do you remember any particular time as a child you remember a white person trying to discourage you about getting an education?
Well, during my teenage, long about I said between 14 and 15.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you arrived in Muncie?
27 years old.
27. What about your school principal? Did your school have a principal?
No, that not there. No, you didn't go into principal till you went to high school.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember if your teacher had a college education?
Yes, they did.
Do you remember what college she had?
Nashville, Tennessee was that college. That's what she got her degree.
Mm-hmm.
Nashville, Tennessee. That's what the name of it was, but that's
Tuskegee?
right. Tuskegee's in Alabama.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm. Did you start school with a particular job in mind?
Well, yes, I did. I wanted to be really. I always played to want to be, millwright or maintainer.
Mm-hmm. And did your schooling help you at all too?
Well, not along that line because they didn't have that in the grade school.
Mm-hmm. Did blacks, can you remember back in those days, if blacks who graduated went on to study beyond high school?
Some, yes, they did.
Mm-hmm. Did any of your children attend college?
I got one my daughter attended. Well, she went to business college. She didn't go to regular college.
Do you know the name of that college?
Business college?
Uh-huh.
Well, they had one set up here in Muncie.
Okay. Do you remember how many years of schooling your parents had?
My parents?
Uh-huh.
No, I don't. No.
Can you name some of the black colleges that you knew about back in those days when you were growing up as a child?
Well, as I said, Tuskegee, Alabama, and I can't record the name of the college that was in Nashville, Tennessee. That wasn't too far from where I live, and it was the two that I can remember, and Bowling Green.
Do you remember if there was a particular child of a particular kind of people who went on to college? For example, if it was a child of a laborer, or a child of a businessman, or somewhere along those lines?
No, none that came up with me. I don't recall right off. None that came up long during my time.
Did black college graduates back in those days come back to Muncie to work and live?
Most black that graduate from here, you'll always leave Muncie to go for to a better condition and job-wise. So.
Did you have what type of transportation did you use to get to school?
Walk.
And how far was that? How far did you have?
Oh, sometimes I walked 4 or 5 miles.
Was that one way or total?
One way.
Were you ever punished in school?
You mean support teachers?
Uh-huh.
Well, for disorderly conduct, yeah.
Can you think of any black families back in those days who lived in Muncie where the entire family worked for one white family, or has worked for one white family over the years?
You mean back during that time?
Yeah,
no.
and still it goes on today.
No,
maybe.
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Why did blacks, what was the reason for blacks losing their jobs back in those days?
Well, some of them was like a qualification, and some of them was just prejudice. You know, the pride them up because of prejudice.
Did many black workers have black bosses?
No, no.
Do you think that black workers would have preferred to have black bosses or white bosses?
Well, that all depends now. Remember one colored boss over at Ball Brothers, and the black team didn't think too much of him. I don't know why, but I never did work on it. But they didn't think too much of him for some reason. I don't know. They even thought he was too much of lean toward the white man too much.
Do you remember what year that was?
I think it was 1938.
Do you remember the guy's name?
Let me see. His name was Ward Brown, I believe his name was. I'm not positive. I think his name was Ward Brown.
Walter Brown. Did blacks own any businesses? And if so, what were they back in those days?
The only thing that the black owned back in those days was such a giant tavern.
Do you remember the names of those taverns?
Well, Ward Myers run a tavern over on don't remember the name of it right offhand. But they operate their can't call the name right now. Another club they operate over there, but I don't remember because I didn't attend too much of club attending. But well, several, small giants they run clubs. But the particular one I'm trying to call them. It just won't.
What about, were there any other black businesses?
No.
Do you remember the names of any more taverns owned by blacks?
No, right offhand, I don't. It don't rest in my mind. I know it was some more, but it just ain't resting with me right now.
Do you know if there were any blacks who managed white businesses, and these blacks were being used as fronts in order to get the blacks community to buy from that particular business?
Well, now, you know what I mean. I heard that talk, but I never come in contact with that because I don't never definitely say a thing unless I see it. No. But it was a lot of that to say. He had much of that they used the black to.
Back in those days?
Yeah.
Would you be willing to relay that message to me? Just that particular history?
Well, I mean, this is, I'm telling you, this is just hearsay.
Right, okay.
This wasn't something I knew.
Right, okay.
Well, I mean, you know how talk started brewing.
Right. Well, that's what I put it down as hearsay. That's if you're willing to.
Well, you mean you talking about the name of the person? Is what you talking about?
The name in the business, if you're willing to give that to me.
Well, it was said that Ball Brother took a man Grun there to influence a lot. Come on in.
And Ball Brother took old man Grundy.
And they say to influence a lot of color to lean towards Ball Brothers. Whatever for years that and Ball Brother was one of the biggest factory, glass factory at that time. They paid the lowest wages.
Mm-hmm.
And Grundy has learned the color to keep them organized union for years. So this is
Right.
I never did come in contact with them.
Right. Okay.
But later years, they did get organized out there.
So, what you saying there was said that Ball Brothers used old man Grundy and kept blacks from joining the union?
You're right, organized the union.
Organized.
They didn't have a union.
Right, okay. Do you know if there were any black doctors or dentists?
Yes, Dr. Brooks was here when I came to Muncie.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Brayton.
Mm-hmm.
There was only two colored doctors here when I came. And later on, later year, Dr. Smith came. He was one of our finest colored doctors. And he was fine then.
What about, were there any nurses or midwives?
No, they didn't have them here. They didn't have no midwives here. They didn't have no registered nurses either. None at that time.
Back in those days, was there ever an epidemic in Muncie?
Like what?
Like yellow fever, smallpox, epidemic. Do you know?
I think diphtheria broke out one year. I don't recall what year it was here. I don't recall the year, but I think it broke out one year.
But you don't remember the year?
No, I don't.
What was your diet like back in those days? What kind of foods did you eat?
Well, such as vegetables, fatback, cornbread.
Did you grow your own food?
Some, quite a bit. I always find me a spot to put me out of garden.
Did you hunt?
Yes, I hunt.
What did you hunt for?
Well, quail, rabbits, quail, and pheasants.
And for those other goods that you didn't grow yourself, where did you shop for them?
Well, at that time, A&P was our leading store here, lowest rate store here, and I shopped most at A&P.
And where was that located?
A&P was located on Madison, right there where across Memorial on Madison, while sure where you're located now. No, they fresh. A&P was fresh downtown before they moved back there.
The home that you lived in, how many rooms did it have?
You mean when?
When you got here, back in those days.
Well, see, I wasn't here long before I bargained for this, and we were young, kind of had children. See, they didn't like to rent, when you had kids. My children were small, so I moved here in 37.
Okay.
So I wasn't here long before I bought here.
And how many rooms did this home have when you purchased it?
Well, it had we only got. See, we made that a bedroom at one time, but we took this out and made this all in one room. We had what we call, 3 bedrooms, and kitchen, bath, and a living room, and it's close in the courtyard here.
You all had running water?
Yeah. No, not when I came. I had all that put in. We didn't have gas when I came in.
What about lights?
We had lights.
Did just your family live in the home, or did someone else?
Just the family.
How did you get your household furnishings? Did you make them? Did you shop for them?
You mean furniture?
Right.
Oh, I just shop around, piece here, piece there, and bargain here,
Did you use credit?
Yeah, I use credit card. So much a week or a month, you know.
Did any black people use alcohol or drugs back in those days?
Back in that time, it wasn't too much drugs, but they used the alcohol have always been, but it wasn't too much drugs during that time. Not in this section.
Do you remember how and where they got them?
What you mean?
That alcohol.
Well, no, not exactly.
What about bootleggers?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. That's the most one handle. They the most one handle that. You know what we call? Well, we call it throat cut or whatever they call it. It's alcohol. You know, it's in other words, very lowest, cheapest of stuff you could get. And the bootleggers mostly handle most of that.
Do you remember any of the bootleggers?
Well, yes, I remember some of the bootleggers. No, of course, I don't know if it should go against them now because one of them still is in business.
Would you be willing to give that information?
Well, Willa Castle was one, and Anna Lou Robinson, and and Hugh Berry, because he's dead now. He's been bootlegging in it too. He's mixing with colored knife. And Fred Tristan, he was, I was there too.
What about a prostitute house?
You mean such as, well, as I say, I mean, I hope this don't reflect on them now, because one of them living that's running on those houses, yeah. And I hope it won't reflect on it.
One of them who's still doing the bootleg.
Yeah, it was in prostitute too.
Where were blacks buried at that time?
Most of them was in Beach Grove Cemetery.
Do you remember if there were any conjurers, healers back in those days?
In a way?
Conjurers, healers.
Oh, yeah, in Muncie. Well, a lot of them, some came through here, but I never did go for it, and I never just, Earl Roberts, he come in and set up a tent out here outside town, back in that time, drawing a lot of people in there.
Do you remember what year he came?
It must have been in the 40s, I guess.
And exactly where did he set his tent up at?
I'm not sure, because I never did go out there, but it's at the edge of town or somewhere. But I never went out there.
What about people in the neighborhood? Were there any people in the neighborhood who said that they possessed the power that could heal another human being?
No, not right in this neighborhood. No, we don't have any right in this neighborhood that does, but because now they have some churches that teach you there over across town.
But these white churches?
No, there's some color in both sections, white and color.
Back in those days, they taught them.
And still is.
Do you know the name of those churches?
Well, Apostolic Christ Temple over on Reverend Santa Cruz, he's dead now. I don't know what they still one of that knows.
Apostolic Christ Temple. Was there another?
Yeah, and Manor Temple over here. They taught that too.
What was that name, excuse me?
Manor.
Do you know anyone who ever went to these healers?
Well, I knew one fellow up here. He'd be a real good friend of mine. He's dead now. He lived up to Wallace Film. He went out there.
To one of the temples?
No, I mean it's 10th service.
Oh, Robert Six.
And, I think he's calling them myself. I might have had my checks by $500. Or come back to when he was healed, but a year later he died of cancer.
Oh, yeah?
So that's where that was.
Mm. And his name was Walter
Sims.
Who were the black leaders in the nation back in those days?
Well, back in that time, the head leader was, I don't know if he's dead now, man. Wick Adams. But offhand, I can't get them all together because most of them is gone, you know, the fast on the way. But I know we got him was one of the main ones. He was.
This was a man in your community?
Well, yeah, practically in my community, yeah.
Okay. Did you agree with the goals that Adams had with his ideas as a leader?
He had some good ones. He had some good ideas. Yeah, he had some good ones. Then he had some I didn't go along with too much.
Could you, do you remember any particular one that you went along with?
Well, he was always for promotion. I went along with that. He went strong at for promotion for color, and he did. And promote color stuff, you know, for better jobs. And I went all right for that. And I went along with him on that very much.
And do you remember one that you didn't agree with?
Well, of course now, you know, when you go to talking with, he said, well, it's not definite. They say he took bribes, you know, on something, but I wasn't sure on that. And if he did, I mean, I know I didn't go along with that.
Do you remember what these bribes were for?
Well, to, you know, keep him down from fighting so hard for his race.
Oh, okay. Did you join any political group such as the NAACP?
Yeah, when I first came to Muncie, I was in the NAACP.
Who was president at that time?
At that time, I think Smith Thompson was president at that time.
Do you remember the goals that the NAACP was working towards at that time?
Well, their main goal was working for events.
Do you remember what year the NAACP was started here?
No, I don't. I don't remember.
What about the Marcus Garvey movement? Did you ever join that?
What's that?
Marcus Garvey movement?
No.
Did you or any member of your family serve in the military?
Yeah.
And if so, how did you feel about it?
Well, I had two boys. Well, I didn't have too much choice, you know. I mean, I failed one time, but I didn't, you know, they were depriving for all of the rights and otherwise, and I just didn't feel like, you know, in within myself, I felt like that it was against my something for send them into service, to have fight for a nation and come back in and tell them they had to fight for freedom.
Did you vote back in those days?
Yes, yes.
Can you remember where the polls were at? Where the polls were set up at?
Me in Muncie?
In Muncie, yeah.
Well, there was a fair white there. The Trevor, Center County. He was a center. That Longfellow School, that's why they had polls set up for white at the time.
Were you or any other blacks that you can remember ever confronted by whites in an effort to keep you all from voting? Okay, do you know if any blacks ever took any bribes to vote a certain way?
No, I couldn't say that.
Do you feel there were any shady dealings between white and black politicians here in Muncie?
You mean
As far as bribe money, anything like that?
well, I always felt like it was, but definitely I couldn't say it for sure, you know.
Who were the local black leaders at that time? Did you all have anyone that was a leader that, say, came off your street, you know, that came out of this part of town?
Well, the precinct committee, and most of them was the one that did most of that.
Can you remember anyone who was on that committee?
He was Gary with
Okay.
for years.
Were your parents or your grandparents slaves?
My mother's parents were enslaved time.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were not.
Mm-hmm.
My grandparents on my mother's side were enslaved.
Do you know who their owners were?
No, I couldn't say. But I might have made it come from my mother. So.
How many children do you have?
9.
How many brothers and sisters did you have?
There were 3 boys and 3 girls of us in my family, in the family.
Can you remember what kind of work they did?
You mean?
What work that they're doing?
Well, my brother, one of them passed, and then he worked at Marvel with me, the one that passed, and my other brother worked down there in Davis Field on that before he retired.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister then did it. My sister here, she just did domestic work.
Mm-hmm.
She stayed too.
Back in those days, who disciplined the children in your house? Back in the old days, in those days, who disciplined the children?
In my home?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my wife and I.
Were there any blacks or whites who married together? Were there any black and white relationships?
You mean in my family?
No, back in those days, just in the city of Muncie. Do you remember any?
Oh yes, on some occasion there was some few, but one still is over here on Church Street. I mean, Capitol.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we were talking about the black-white marriages. Mm-hmm. Okay. How did the black community view this?
Well, they at one time they put up a little protest, but soon passed on over. It soon just become like a thing. You know, it just so much of it was going on here. Them when married were living together, and so they just soon overlooked it. You know.
Did many of your relatives live near or far away?
You mean?
When you all moved up from Tennessee, where were the rest of your relatives living?
Well, they was most farmers. They was distant farmers.
Mm-hmm. How did you meet your wife?
Well, I don't tell you. We were schoolmates together all the way through school, and so that's how we really met.
How did people in your family feel about divorce?
No, my family was always against divorce.
Can you remember whether most people back in those days remarried after divorce?
I don't recall it. No.
When you were growing up back in those days, was there a lot of respect for the elderly?
Yes, always. Yeah.
And if a child or someone did not show an elderly person respect, what would happen to them?
Well, his parents would correct him. Well, they do know it. They take care of him.
What about a child being corrected by someone else?
Yeah, well, they back in those days, they would allow other people to correct your child if you're wrong.
When teenagers, when young men reach adulthood, did they stay with their families or did they leave home?
Oh, most of them left home most of them left home.
Was there a particular age?
Well, when they reached around 18, 19, they'd always drift away.
Would they go out to try to find work?
Yeah. Come on, leave, go to different towns.
Would they still keep in contact with their family?
Oh, yeah.
What holidays were observed here in Muncie, other than their traditional Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's? Were there any other holidays, any other occasions that were observed?
Well, now are you talking about as a whole, or are you talking about state, county? I want to get to what you're talking about, because they observed several holidays the factories did with pay for the employees.
What I'm trying to ask is, were there anything like a May Day festival?
No.
A spring festival?
No.
Anything of that
No,
nature?
no, it happened like that.
Were there a lot of family reunions back in those days?
Well, several. Yeah, back at that time, they used to often have family reunions.
What about your family? Did you all?
Yes, we used to have.
Could you briefly describe the reunion?
Huh?
Could you briefly describe what your family reunion was like?
Oh, it was nice. We'd always come together and celebrate. We'd mostly go down to the park and sit up and down, read and maybe change gifts, stuff like that.
At what age did your children leave home and start assuming responsibility for themselves?
Well, they began to drift away, I said, from 17 and on.
How were your children's names chosen?
You mean?
How was your children's names chosen?
You mean by whom?
By whom, or was there a particular way that you all went about choosing their names?
No, my wife and I, and then sometimes a friend would come in and choose a name, select a name.
This friend, would it be a close friend of the
Close
family?
friend, yeah.
Backing up a little to, you said when Oral Roberts came to town and set up a tent. Did a lot of blacks attend that?
They said it did. I didn't know, but they said quite a few went out there.
Did you or your family attend church back in those days?
Yes.
What was the church and what was the name of the church and what denomination was it?
Well, Missionary Baptist.
Where was it located?
Well, first communicated with Union Baptist Church here on Macedonia. In later years, I moved my membership over to Antioch on the same street, on a Macedonia brother.
How frequently did Did your family attend church service?
Well, we every Sunday. Sometimes we had service 3 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
Morning, evening, and night worship.
Did your family have devotionals?
In the home?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Tell us some of the things your church did for the community back in those days.
Well, they would, go out to help as far as they could help such as is needed, We had what we call a benevolent fund set up.
Mm-hmm.
We still have that. And while we could see somebody was in need, while we go and take them a token of, what we felt like we could do.
Mm-hmm. Do you know when that fund was originally started?
Well, it was. They had it set up when I came to Muncie. I don't know this for years.
And this was in the first church?
Union Baptist.
How were household workers, domestic workers, treated by their employers back in those days?
Well, I don't know. Some of them said it was nice, and then some of them said it was pretty cruel. See, I never come in contact with them. My wife, now she worked for A.M. Bracken for about 28 years at that time. They was awful nice to her. So, but you don't find too many. And my sister's past, she worked for one of the balls, and they was awful nice to her too.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by being nice?
I mean, they'd always, any way she could go to do something for her. So help her in any kind of way.
Other than paying her.
Right.
What about the use of public facilities? Were blacks given equal access to public facilities as whites back in those days?
No, not those days. No.
Could you briefly tell me something about that?
Well,
what about on the buses, parks?
Well, you see, now
restaurants.
Restaurants, they had them. They wouldn't sell restaurants. They couldn't go in at that time. And of course, they always rode the bus. This is how big here. Because when I first came here, they had in Urban and they had a bus. And they always rode them, but they had several restaurants that color couldn't dare to go in.
Do you remember the names of any of those restaurants?
Robert Hotel used to wouldn't accept color. But recently they did. But the first old Robert Hotel, they was segregated too.
Do you know if any blacks used to work in there?
Such as, maids or something like that.
But at the same, blacks worked there, but at the same time they wouldn't accept blacks.
Wouldn't accommodate. No.
Was there any violence against blacks in your community? And if so, by whom back in those days?
The violence? No, not too much of that in that time.
Was there any, what about the Klan? Did the Klan ever strike out at them?
We never had no Klan in this neighborhood, so whatever. Now, they said there was some few here in Muncie, but I never come in contact with them.
What were the major fears of black people back in those days?
Major fears?
Fears of black people back in those days.
I don't think I understand your question too well.
Was there any one particular thing that frightened black people as a group back in those times?
Back in that time, it did. Yes, you take her most any gathering of white excitement and they mask themselves and come out with sheets and things and excite the color folks back at that time. sit up one time, sit up for a ride here. But somebody was sheet thing, this colorful short, she couldn't ski.
Mm.
Of course, I mean, I was always a little different in there. They excited me too much. Because, I mean, I wasn't brought up with. I was brought up with no fear, and man, I just didn't have too much of it.
What exactly happened? Did the people with these sheets, did they walk through this part of town or what?
No, it was after one particular boy that claimed that raped a white girl back there. I call the name. It's George Johnson. Was his name? I think he lived in Nashville. And they were particularly after him. So they were just parading, you know. They just had it. Otherwise, they just got bloodthirsty. Anybody they could have got, they probably would have, you know. That's the way to do, you know. She ain't get what they were looking for. They so why you black, I'll get you.
How did blacks react to this, aside from being afraid?
Well, they organized, and Smith Thompson, the guy whose team was in there, he organized it. Blacks recently to that. Have me organize the black sit up. And so they got together and marched.
Do you remember what year that was?
I believe that was about 1944, 3 or 4, somewhere around.
If blacks had to go to court back in those days, first, were they able to go to court? And second, if they did go, who represented them?
Well, the best they could do was they have to have white, because there was no blacks here to represent.
Was there anyone else who spoke out for the accused black in court, such as his boss, some well-known figure in the community, some black figure other than the lawyer himself?
Well, later, the ministers took part in that. They would always go down, you know, and appeal against, you know, certain things that felt like wasn't right. Most of the ministers did most of that.
Were there any black judges?
No.
Any black policemen?
Yeah, they had black policemen.
Do you remember their name?
Yes, they had John Miller. And you talking about back in that time, ain't you?
Right.
Don McAllister. I can't think of the guy's name. He was, in my pitch, he was the best one. You know, ever on color police force. I can't recall his name right now. Just arrested on that.
Do you think black people had pride in themselves back in those days?
Well, generally, yes, but it's always been, of all time, there'd always been some, slacker slums, we call them, they didn't take too much pride in nothing.
Do you think they had more pride in themselves now than they did?
Well,
long ago?
Under circumstances, I can't see too much. Because we have so much of that slum area. Those guys that seem to be on dope and all that stuff and something like this. See them drifting and young men don't look older now, do drifting in the streets. Yes, we got a town full of that yet. And they don't have the situation now.
how did you feel about how do you feel about being called color?
Well, I never did have no regret about my color. I never felt no way concerned about it. Not one wishing I wasn't Negro. You know what I mean? I never had that.
Mm-hmm.
Never had that in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Never wished that I wasn't a Negro.
Mm-hmm.
Never had that in my mind.
What about how do you feel about being called black?
Well, I mean that same thing I just said. I don't mind old black.
Mm-hmm.
No. Only word I regretted was when they called you nigger. Now I never did like that. I hit more white men for that and anything else. I'll hit a minute and call me a nigger. I'll hit you in a minute you gonna call me a nigger because I just didn't like that word nigger. That's low down, long, you know.
Mm-hmm.
See, I looked at the word nigger up and I didn't want you call me no nigger. Call me a nigger. Oh, I'd go along with that. A black, I'd go along with that. But don't call me no nigger.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about being called an Afro American?
Well, I don't mind that.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't mind that.
Did you ever have any knowledge of any of the black newspapers during that time, back in those days?
Not too much. But I tell you, this guy in Longing, in the 40s, he put out a paper, Indiana Herald, they called it.
Mm-hmm.
We got him. He was outstanding. One outstanding color man, understand too.
What was his name?
We got him. Yeah.
Okay. Did you ever hear of the Afro American newspaper back in those days?
No, no.
What about the Black Star Press?
No, I never.
The Chicago Defender?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm. What about the Journal and Guide newspaper?
No, never.
Can you remember any other newspapers that you read back in those days? Any other?
You mean other than what we got? You mean beside what we got now?
Yeah, the Indiana Herald.
Well, then on the Herald, I told you, we got them. Put that out.
Yeah.
That's back in that time.
In the old days, did people talk much about Africa?
Not too much.
Mm-hmm.
You see, back when I was a child, the older people got the wrong conception about Africa. See, the white folks drilled it into them, you know, slavery time. Africa didn't have no sense, so they drilled that into our footprints, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they come up with that in them. And so they had to grow out through knowledge. Mm-hmm. The only way they could advance over there was through study to find the real source of Africa.
Mm-hmm. How do you think? How do you think? How do you feel about Africa as a homeland?
Well, now I wouldn't say nothing against it, but you see, I never knew nothing but America.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, at my age now, to try to accept another country as a homeland, well, I mean, it'd be hard for me to accept because I never knew nothing else. See?
In the past, how did black people feel about? How do you think black people felt about working for other blacks?
Well, in the past, under some circumstances, there was a pretty close communication there, and in some it wasn't. Mm-hmm. You take some black was very considerate, and some was not. Mm-hmm. So it made it difficult. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You run into one of them, they want to try to act like the white man. Mm-hmm. and he's hard to get along with.
When you were a child, did you ever have any black toys? Black toy soldiers?
No.
Do you know if your sisters had any
No,
black dolls?
I don't recall anything like that. No, nothing when I was coming up.
Do you think young black children were ashamed of their race or color in those days, back in the old days?
Well, I never heard no remarks about it when I was coming up.
Do you think this is so today?
That they're ashamed of it. I couldn't say as a whole. I would say as a whole, no. But in some cases, it might be.
In the past, how did most black people feel about fair-skinned blacks?
Well, in the past, a lot of them used to look down on real light skin, and a lot of them were kidded to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just, opinion, matter of opinion.
The fair-skinned blacks usually have better off or worse off economic. Let me restate that. Were fair-skinned blacks usually better off or worse off than other blacks?
Well, it seemed to like that the fair skin would always, I don't know, it seemed that they would always get a pull somewhere. It seemed that they would always get where they could advance a little more.
Mm-hmm. Why, do you have a reason for that?
Well, I think it comes through the whites.
In the past, how did women fix themselves up? Their hair, cosmetics? Did they wear a lot of makeup?
In the past, when I was a kid coming up, they wore some makeup, such as powder, and they didn't wear a lot of lipstick, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't wear these high dresses. They wore the dresses down.
Mm-hmm.
And,
How do you feel about wigs today?
Well, in my book, I never did think too much of it. But, some people, so many people, cater to them, so I don't say anything. But in my book, I never did go for wigs.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about afros?
I never did go for those.
Mm-hmm. What about cornrows?
I never went on for that.
Eyeshadow?
No, I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything that you would like to add that maybe we've talked about and now you remember something?
No. Catch me so fast. I don't know how we did go.
Okay. Well, if that's all. This has been the second interview, and the date of the day is June 17th, 1980.